essays. Is a commentary on the Chumash. This the Ramban brings at the end of the description of Yetziat Mitzrayim and all the miracles that took place. At the end of Parshas Bo. So it says, all the foundations of the Torah are based upon hidden miracles. Because when it says in the Chumash that Shamayim Kavaza, that if you don't follow the mitzvah, the heavens will be like iron, there'll be drought. So how can we remove it? Because if we observe the Shemitah, it says, Lo Yishamayim Kabazil. Why? Because if we do sow and plow in the Shemitah year, we'll have a drought. In Eretz Israel, the punishment comes quickly. And you can see the hand of Hashem, even over Tzaya Chazit, with a small distance, quite nearby. But Chutz La'aretz, which is under the rulership of the Saraya Umat, that's described, Hanagah Sham Yoter Lefi Teva Olam. Hashem deals with the nations of the world and with the lands of the world more according to what seems to be the regular principles of natural laws. And therefore, it still all comes from Hashem. In fact, it's expressed most clearly in the Psukim we said in the morning, that Hu tziva v'nivra'u Chok natan lo yavo. Hashem, He gave a commandment that creation should come into existence. And it's a chok, it doesn't change. In other words, the unchanging nature of the world, as we know through scientific investigation, although there's also a random element, but still, if you could look at the macrocosm, the wider aspects of investigation of the cosmos, there are definitely certain laws of nature. Modern scientists like to say it. There's no absolute law of causality, it's a probability. There's a law of probability. But that goes into you go into the microscopic world, then you see the random element. But as people see with the naked eye, the sun and the moon, the stars, and also the nature of its globe goes according to seasons. There are certain aspects which are more random, like we described the weather. It's more random. But still, there's certain governing laws which give us the ability to investigate them generation after generation at a high level. So that's also the way in which in history, in his story, Hashem, generally speaking, He works according to the regularity of natural laws, Teva Olam. Therefore you can't see the hand of Hashem the same way you can see it when you open miracles. But if you do investigate in the laws of nature deeply, you find there's harmony. That harmony itself brings you to realization is the hand of God, as recognized by nearly all the great scientists, who declared, in the words of one of them, that a little science takes away people from religion, but if a person is really concentrating on science, it brings you much nearer to religion. That's, I think, the general consensus of scientists from the beginning of scientific efforts of discovery until today. And he says this is referred to Kohelet. He says, Kohelet says, he speaks a lot about these questions, and he says we do find that reward and punishment, which is one of the ways whereby we see if there is such a thing as reward and punishment for the nations, it demonstrates the ways of Hashem. And the prophets are filled with the descriptions of the way in which Hashem, He looks after the ways of all the nations of the world according to principles of morality. But you don't see them easily. You see them only if you look into things thoroughly. So this applies also to scientists, it applies also to historians. Historians who go into this more deeply, they do see in all aspects of whatever happens in the world, there is apparently a line of justice. But it takes time. It's the Churchill, I'm not quoting the words exactly, but in one of his descriptions of what he knew, what called, let's say, contemporary history, he said the mills that God grinds, they grind slowly, but they grind to a very small level, and ultimately the ways of history till you come to see how Hashem as in grinding the more raw material of human developments, sometimes it takes quite a long time till you can recognize in what has happened the will of Hashem. He's really here reflecting the famous word of Chazal. Because when Moshe Rabbeinu, in fact, he asked his big question to Hashem, we look around in the world and we see the righteous suffer and the wicked prosper. Please let me know your ways. So then he had a vision, and then he said, you can't see my front, Hashem said, but you can see my back. My face I can't tell you, but you can see my back. So many commentators, Chazal Sofer elaborates this a lot, says that when you try to understand what's happening, often you can't understand. Why do wicked people who want to kill people, they prosper, and the other people, innocent people, they die a long time before they should? Why does it happen? This is a great question, which everybody asks. And what's been going on the last 100 years? But the answer is that ultimately, after it's happened, you're going to have cast your mind back to the whole development. You see, in the end, the wicked are destroyed from the earth, and the righteous, they survive. That means understanding the back of Hashem, what happens afterwards. So here, going on the next paragraph, so what does V'hayim Shema teach us? It says, Matzai Tashamayim, that Hashem, if we don't fulfill the will of Hashem, then it's going to lock up the heavens, we'll have drought. This is part of the hidden miracle. And if it gets more serious, it really says you'll become lost from the land which I gave you. So the simple meaning is, you go, the Jews will disappear amongst the nations. That's scholars. Many of them actually disappeared, the 10 tribes. So therefore, you no longer have the protection and the method of Eretz Israel, where there's more open providence. Therefore you get lost, become lost people. They said, B'tchila amar in Israel et Baruch. First of all, the Jewish people are shown the spiritual nature of Eretz Israel, which is so high. And if you don't learn from that spiritual nature, then it's clarified you do not belong through your own efforts to be a recipient of the teachings of Eretz Israel. And therefore there's no possibility to keep you alive except the Galut. How do you learn in the Galut? It says the suffering. There can be also spiritual suffering. How do you go in the Galut, forget all about being a Jew? You become a lost nation. But there's certain deep aspects of something that come from your finding that life becomes meaningless. So you start the search. From the situation, you're really a lost Jew. But there are different things that come up in your life and they make you think, what's the purpose of life? What lies behind it? They try all sorts of religions maybe, all sorts of forms of other cults, or maybe atheism, Gnosticism. And then you'll see that your life doesn't mean anything, and you say, well, I might as well choose what lies in my inner feeling. I'm a Jew after all, even though I don't admit it to anybody else. So let me try it out. That brings people back. That's the spiritual change. And sometimes it happens through troubles. You don't want to know about it, so the non-Jew comes along and says, oh no, you're a Jew. And we're gonna persecute you because you're a Jew. And he says, well, some just get don't get real persecution, but they see they're not accepted in any society because they're Jewish. So then they say, well, let me find out what it means to be Jewish. And others don't just suffer verbal abuse, they suffer physical abuse. And that makes them change until they come back. So this is the tikkun to keep the people alive. B'zchut avot, because it all goes back to the forefathers. And this is Galut is a tikkun. Now it's like this. If you think of the Shema, it says, "V'avartem meheira me'al otzatova, asher nechim etzavei eschem." Then it says, "V'samtem ezraele al ravchem al nafshechem." Then it says, when you're in the Golos, you can see a lot, then you should put upon your heart, it's in the plural, these words of the Shema, you should put on your heart. So Rashi says, brings it, not Rashi, it's from the Chacham, from the Tanoim. It's mentioned in the Sifri. What does it mean? You should put them. It says, sometimes you should put them on your heart and upon your soul. So it says there, so you should keep, it's written, I'll give you the abbreviations, you should keep Tav and Mem. The way it was written in some manuscripts, and was printed in Chumash Rashi, you'll see there, Samtem es Dra'ele. What are these things? Tav, Vav, Mem, abbreviated. Tav, Vav, Mem. You should remember all these things when you're in Golos, so that you won't forget them when you come back to Eretz Yisrael. And the pasuk is quoted from Eliyahu, "Hatziv v'lecha tzionim." When you're in Golos, you've got to make for yourself signs. And what are the signs? Tav or Mem. So, people ask the question, tefillin, if it means tefillin or mezuzah, and that's the simple pshat. What comes afterwards? It says the next pasuk is, tie them, put them as a sign on your arms, in the plural, and there'll be an ornament upon your head. So obviously it's referring to tefillin and mezuzah. So how can tefillin and mezuzah, a person thinks, I wear the most gorgeous tefillin in Brooklyn or in London. Yeah, I'm just the same as the Jew in Eretz Yisrael. So how can you say that this should not forget in the Golos to put on tefillin and mezuzahs, so you remember them when you come back to Eretz Yisrael? Because it's the same duty. A person who doesn't put on tefillin and mezuzah in Eretz Yisrael is just as bad as the person doesn't do so in Eretz Yisrael. And the person who's in Chutz La'Orez put tefillin and mezuzah, he thinks, I'm a tzaddik just like the people. In fact, there are many people in Eretz Yisrael that don't put on tefillin for Rabbeinu Tam. And I'm even such as some have the minhagim. I wear even two types of tefillin. So what's better, to wear tefillin Rabbeinu Tam in Chutz La'Orez, or to wear it just without tefillin? I mean, there's some who say only a person who's a chosed should do so. Okay? So not chassidim. But it applies also to most kosher tefillin. I've got there's some very mahadim in a mahadim tefillin. So, mahadim tefillin in Chutz La'Orez, we've got to keep them on, just because we've got to remember how to do them in Eretz Yisrael. So it's a difficult shot. And therefore they say, Tav or Mem must refer to Trumot or Masrot. Because there's a din, there's Trumot or Masrot that come out from the pain of Eretz Yisrael. You have to make Hafrosh and Chutz La'Orez. If they were grown, and even some owned by Jews in Eretz Yisrael. But there could be, there's a hint here, go and even separate Trumot by Chutz La'Orez, so that you won't forget it when you come to Eretz Yisrael. Learn the din, you won't forget it. But the Medrash doesn't say that. It says the simple explanation is the first one. So what do we see here? And also another question. Why is it said in the plural? What does it mean? And if we're talking about lost Jews, well, lost Jews don't read the Kriyat Shema. So what does it refer to when it's in the plural? So we have to say the Shema, second Pasha, is addressed to the Tzibor or the representative of the Tzibor. It means those who have learned enough to know they're responsible for the community of Israel. They're the ones who are being addressed. And every Jew should feel like that. Every Jew should feel, I'm responsible as far as I can for others. Whether it's just my own family, or whether it's my little community, I've got to make up the minyan, or whether it's what's taking place in the whole country, I've got to feel that it's my responsibility to do what I can, what Hashem give me the power to do. If you don't do it, then that brings all the punishments. So therefore, both ways it goes. But here we see that it's a Kfarim the Ramban. The Ramban goes consistently. As I described before, a mitzvah fulfilled in Eretz Yisrael is double the schar and double the quality of one fulfilled in Chutz La'Orez. And he said like this, in Chutz La'Orez, we're a bit further from Hashem. Therefore, Yirmiyahu says, when a observance has become low in Chutz La'aretz, the main thing to start with is to try to get people to fulfill mitzvot. The first mitzvah is tefillin. The question, why tefillin and mezuzah? Why? Also, the Ramban quotes this in his long essay on Nisim Nistarim, on hidden miracles, at the end of Parshas Boy. So he also quotes that if a person puts on tefillin, because in a way it's the easiest, because to teach people all the principle of Torah takes quite some time. How would you trigger it off? So he said one of the main triggers is tefillin and mezuzah, because people, they go in out of their house day by day, and they put on the garments day by day. So really, it should be, if it becomes a regular aspect of triggering off the daily life, then it leads to a change. And it goes together with the first, if you want to understand the concept deeply, then tefillin, specifically, and mezuzah is like an adjunct to tefillin. First, the person's got a home, the same situation. Just like the home is put in the right direction when you go in and out. It means that you think, my home should be dedicated to Hashem. That's what it means. Hashem guides my home life. And your daily behavior of using your mind, which also came to so, and using the tefillin, which refer to action, and also refer to the heart. It's two aspects. The box of the tefillin opposite the heart. And the way you wind them to the hand is that the heart should inspire the hand, the action. This is the principle of what's going to trigger them off. And this will trigger a person off to become attached to Torah. And the proof is that the first mention of tefillin is together with the first mention of Pesach. It's the same parsha. And it's mentioned by the answer you give to the estranged Jew, to the Rasha. In that same parsha where it says you've got to announce the significance of Pesach all times, even to those that are classed as the Rashaim. They have to hear the message by your word. And then it says you should also Kshatim Lot al yadecha vayu l'zikaron beinecha. This is the first time you use the zikaron. First time doesn't say totafot. Zikaron means to arouse from the deep subconscious a certain memory. So the memory of Yetziat Mitzrayim and Har Sinai will come back through the tefillin. And ultimately, later, they're called totafot. The memory arouses them, and after it becomes an ornament when you live it. So there it says, to the Rasha, it says you should go on the tefillin, so that the Torah of Hashem will be in your mouth. That means people sometimes say, what's the point of putting tefillin on to people who know nothing about Yiddishkeit? Or they've received they read a bit, but they know. So you should still try to persuade them, put on tefillin, if you can, because it will help them in order the Torah of Hashem should be in your mouth, to get them to learn Torah. And that's been proven in our time as being fulfilled in many different ways. And it's amazing how it's contained in this little Rashi. Well, that lies behind it. And therefore it's the responsibility of those who have the Torah and have the ability to help the tzibur come back to support the idea of the tefillin coming. The point is like this: it is true that in all things you've got to do it only in a way that people are willing to take up that experiment, which is if the people have. So it's very important not to put pressure. You can't achieve anything with pressure. You can achieve it. The whole of this parsha, the title is La'avat Hashem. It's got to go with the power of love. But that's what lies in this special power of Eretz Yisrael. Have any questions? Now, as we've said, Eretz Yisrael has enormous power, and the forefathers knew it. So now, it's very interesting. The forefathers knew that this land was to be given to their descendants. Abraham knew it. Yes. They were told, given to their descendants. They themselves, they also were Geber Toshav and Nibur Shechem. They were treated as Geber Toshav by the Canaanites, by the Hittites. And they knew this is part of it. We've got to try to set a good example of Chesed and of even of many different dealings to avoid stealing and so on, the flocks, all the different episodes from Avraham Avinu to Parshas Shemot. They deal with all aspects of Eretz Yisrael, also how some of the descendants and more near the second part of the Bereshit went into Golus entirely. And we see there is a distinction that, let's say, Avraham Avinu, so because he wanted to stay in Eretz Yisrael, there was a famine, so he had to go to Mitzrayim. So, and Yitzchak was able to stay in Eretz Yisrael all his life, but Yaakov also had to go into Golus. And they felt Eretz Yisrael, even though most of it was still surrounded by idolaters, but it was their duty. Avraham Avinu has to set the example. So, however, you find that when many poskim say, when the Oves were in Eretz Yisrael, they had the din of Bnei Noach. They didn't have the din. Avraham Avinu kept the Torah, which the Ramban explains, refers mainly to the mitzvah of Bnei Noach, but others explain it more literally. He kept all the principles of the Torah for sure, with the basic principles, what lies behind the Shem mitzvah of Bnei Noach. But technically, they knew they were Ger Toshav amongst the Canaanim. Therefore, they kept a very correct approach towards them. So Avraham Avinu, when Sarah died, he paid an enormous price and was ready even to go into all sorts of negotiations to purchase it at the full price. It should belong to him and his seed. And it was confirmed, you could say, confirmed by Middle East law. If you go into, in fact, there's a great, more modern scholar I knew well, an archaeologist as well, and he wrote a brilliant article tradition from called Dr. Lehman on the making sure that it was confirmed by what we would today call international law, that Hebron belongs to the Jewish people, to the descendants of Avraham Avinu, to his descendants. Let's be correct. So, Geva Toshal, but he purchased it. And then we find Yitzchak Avinu. He didn't purchase any part of Eretz Israel, but he was the intended sacrifice on Mount Moriah, which is a holy mountain, and became a very holy mountain, even a holy mountain from the beginning, and became even a holier mountain when Avraham had to be ready to sacrifice his son. And that made, as you said in the Chumash, that made that place the actual place of tefillah and all the korbanot future for the future people of Israel. So Yitzchak never went out of Eretz Israel, but he was willing to dedicate his life for the people of Israel having a direct connection with Hashem through Ha Moriah. And Avraham is part of the test as well. And so he says, because of this, your seed, they're going to inherit this place. It belongs to the seed of Avraham and the seed of Yitzchak. It's promised to both of them directly. So therefore, we have Hashem's promise. Ha Moriah belongs to Am Israel. Long before they took it in possession, literally. But it was like the legal possession. And Yaakov Avinu also, he had a very big struggle with Esau, the Sarah Shel Esau. He was afraid Esau was going to kill him. But anyway, the struggle he survived, and even the Sarah Shel Esau admitted that you are the one who declares God to be the ruler of the world. And therefore, I'll change your name from Yaakov. Hashem is going to change your name from Yaakov to Israel. Yaakov means the one who is at the heel of others. Because when they were born, he was holding the heel of Esau. And even that's got the deeper meaning that Yaakov is weaker than Esau. We are weak people. When in the struggle, physical, of the nation of Israel with our enemies, we're always the weakest. If we're not in the land of Israel. The land of Israel can be different, but otherwise we'll always be the weakest. And also, when the struggle with Sarah Shel Esau is a material struggle of the nation against those who want to destroy the nation, it's also a spiritual struggle. You were successful on the divine level also. Divine level, Yaakov became more perfect than Esau, than the enemies. Therefore Yaakov is the one who has vanquished Esau. That's why his name is changed to Israel. Because he is the messenger, can become the messenger of God entirely. He can be on the level of Malachim, they directly fulfill it, but on the level of a nation that despite the fact that it's human and not divine, but it carries the Tzelem Elokim, we live according to the Tzelem Elokim through struggle. It's the struggle for survival. The struggle which others say the whole development of the human being from the amoeba, from the smallest sparkle of life in the world, comes to the struggle for existence, and it's a natural struggle. But we say what's more important, whether you believe in that or disbelieve in it, what is more important, whichever way, the human being has got a struggle, for sure, struggle for his livelihood. That's the carries on. What happened before different theories. But from the time he's born, he's got to struggle. He doesn't not getting help, he'll die. Everything is struggle. And through the struggle he grows. But the basic struggle is to overcome the animal nature which still resides within the human being, and to use it as a tool to develop the spiritual nature. And that is the essence of the people of Israel. And that came to its culmination with Yaakov Avinu and his struggle. And first he limped, because that represents the struggle in the Galut. But when he came to Shechem, which is like the shoulder of the land of Israel, it's like really the center point of the shoulder. Shechem also means the shoulder. So even in the geographical borders of Eretz Israel, some people would say you can do it according to, it goes on the figure of human being to some extent. But the shoulders, we know the shoulders, they carry the head, and they are the link between the head and the body. And so Shechem, where Yosef was buried, because Yosef was the one who showed how even in the biggest struggles of life you can overcome the animal nature. If you remember Yaakov Avinu, as he did, there's his good, Yaakov Avinu helped him. And Yaakov Avinu had a big struggle, he came out of it complete, so he came out of it complete. That's Midas Yisod, that's the foundation, that's the shoulder of the people of Israel. So when he came out, it says as soon as the night represents the night of the Galut, that's when he had the struggle. When it came to dawn, Ad Alot HaShacha, then Vayikba Hashem. So then the power of Hashem came upon him, and he didn't limp anymore. It's a refuah for his limp. When he came to Shechem, it says, Vayavo Yaakov Shalem Yeshechem. He came to fulfill his midah, Yaakov Ish Tam. Tam is perfection on a high level. It's not being aware sometimes of other things, not being aware of the physical aspects of life. The Tmimut should go to Hashem, to complete with Him, and it's not Asher Tmim Derech. We've got the Derech to become Tamim. Even Avraham Avinu at the age of 100 says, Talech lefanai v'yeh tamim. You go in front of you and become Tamim. So here also, Shalem means, Chazal says Shalem b'gufo, Shalem b'torato, Shalem b'mamono. He was complete with everything. With his body, healthy, no limping anymore, could walk upright every way. And his Torah, Torah came back to him, came back to Eretz Yisrael, the Torah of Eretz Yisrael, and b'mano, his money also. So what did he do? He went and bought Chelkat HaSadeh Yeshechem. There was a nice piece of land. He purchased it with a lot of money. And here we learn, Chazal say, Mi shesh lo chelek be'eretz Yisrael, ze kechelek b'olam haba. Ibn Ezra elaborates on this. So therefore, the forefathers guaranteed a place in Eretz Yisrael, 3 holy places. They purchased it according to all possibilities of legal systems at their time. So it belongs to us. But it's interesting that these are the 3 holy places about which there are most arguments. But today, and I'm going to describe this further, and these 3 that I'll believe next year represent Torah, Avodah, Gemilut, Chasadim, the 3 pillars upon which the spiritual world of mankind is based. So any question on this, please ask them tomorrow. We'll continue. Please keep these pages.